Father, Mother God, in this moment we are joining two or more with one intention, to become more of what you created us to be. So onto the altar in our hearts we surrender all else, all that would be in the way of us knowing who we are, being who we are, sharing who we really are. Help us to part the seas of our consciousness and our misbeliefs, our limiting beliefs. Help us to part these so that we can walk through to a place of freedom, to a new life, stepping into the promised land, which means our consciousness that we've always had. We feel a great liberation and an ability now to say thank you in advance, that we are moving into this, not just a higher dimension, a state of liberation, a state of freedom. And since we know we cannot go there alone, but rather with each other, we ask, help us to show us and guide us how to have the courage to bring our brothers and sisters every day into that promised land. By seeing the light and Christ in them, then we become aware of the Christ in ourselves. Guide us on how to have the courage to do this. And so it is.
Please join me in reading our mission statement, which you'll find on the white cards in the seat backs in front of you. And together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading for today.
White Eagle on the Divine Mother. God said, "Let there be light." The Christ light can make all things new. The Christ within us is our salvation, a new creation for all of us in these physical forms. When the soul has garnered all the experience it can from physical life, and it is ready to pass into the Christ initiation, it seeks to perfect itself. There is a wonderful resurrection of enlightenment and awakening that can be experienced. The Christ in you becomes conscious. It sits in your heart. It awakens. It becomes your consciousness. Jesus was the manifestation of the Christ Spirit. He was the Christ in human form. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the light," and demonstrated for all of us the way, the purification for every soul. In gratitude and great love, so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us again. If you're new to our group here, it's the Global Center means it's global, universal. It's a center, it's a place for many, and it's for Christ consciousness, which means that we set the highest goal, the highest level of consciousness as our goal, as our ideal, you know? So we don't just, it's not just a learning center, and it's not just a spiritual, interactive kind of a place. It's something that has the Christ consciousness as its ultimate goal. And part of what we do here, really, it's the topics, the subject matter, the themes can be from any culture, any group, any teacher, whatever gets woven in. And one of the things we do is I ask you each week what it is that's precious to you that you want me to cover as a topic. So if anybody has something in mind, have at it.
Surrender.
What'd you say?
Favor.
Okay, surrender, favor, forgive.
The devastation of the LA fires.
What was that over there?
Stepping into your power.
One more time?
Stepping into your power.
Okay.
Change.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. It's an interesting thing when we get on the spiritual path, because there are these mild epiphanies we have. Mild ones don't mean small, but they can seem a little bit easier to handle. Then we have big epiphanies, like mind-blowing major shifts, just 180-degree changes. And it depends on the person, and it depends on what kinds of things they're attracting to create shifts or change. What we don't learn the easy way, we learn the hard way. Such things as fires, divorce, death, intense things like that, illness. Usually before something happens, there's signs. And we just human beings have this tendency to not listen, to not pay attention to the signs. Even though we say, I just wish I knew what God wanted me to know. You say that, but then, when you hear whispers, leave him, and you're like, well, that's embarrassing. I don't want to leave because I just got married, and what are we going to do with the gifts? And the human mind starts conjuring up reasons to not follow the guidance. And even though I make light of these things, sometimes they're very, very painful. So I certainly don't mean it's one-sided in that sense. There's subconscious reasons, conscious reasons. We make these deals, and deals are not just like some ancient story, deals with the devil kind of stories. Mephistopheles, and these kinds of stories. It's, they're even subtle betrayals of ourselves are deals with the devil. But it doesn't mean literally a horned figure. It even with our ego, even just with our fears. When we let fears control us, we're making a deal with the devil. So it's an internal process, or process if you're Canadian. Yeah. So look at this, like, what an amazing thing, the spiritual path. But what does that mean? For some, it's just little mild adjustments we make in our lives, and we call it the spiritual path. Sometimes it's major adjustments, but again, taking a consistent measure of how you're doing inside, what's going on, your growth level, your awakening, doing an inventory on ourselves. The book of Revelation talks about the message to the 7 churches. It's not just a literal story about a guy named John who heard the voice of God say, listen, do me a favor, write some letters. Okay, a letter to this church, a letter to, and it was like, here's where you're strong, here's where you're challenged or weak. This is a message to all of us to do an inventory consistently. Where are you strong? Where are you weak? Well, why should we do this? Here's why. If you don't, the weaknesses are going to build up until they blow up and become a tragedy. I would rather know these things and do micro adjustments than to have to deal with a major explosion, which you're still going to have on this planet. But you don't have to have as many. Things can be more mild. When someone's determined to end up in a certain direction, they don't like you, they're going to find fault with you. It's going to happen because that's the direction they want to go. If you want to have solutions and see them before they blow up, set that as your course, and then you'll resolve things before they build up and blow up. Things don't have to become these tragic endings of any kind, emotional, psychological, health, or whatever else. Learning to know thyself. What do you think that means? You're in touch. I'll never forget a woman who, we were talking to a few of us, and she was sharing that she was in recovery. And one of the people, just assuming, you poor thing, there must be a reason that you were an alcoholic. Who was it? What did they do? And I remember she goes, oh no, I did this to myself. And it was like, I was like, what? A person actually took responsibility. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that have been hurtful in her life or your life or my life. Yes, it's true that things like that happen. But as we grow, we start off naming, just itemizing who it was and what they did. And that's a normal step. But there's a step also at the end of the story, and there's ones in between. But there's the step where I'm naming who, what, when, where. That's okay. Itemizations. Bring them to your counselors, cry, vomit, do what you have to do to get that out. When you get to the end of the story, so tell me about yourself. There's just this. And who did what? What? What do you mean who? There's only one of us here. And not because you were wrong to name the things. It's just that you're now in your right consciousness. It's okay to name the things for a while. And don't say to yourself, please don't say to yourself, I got to stop naming so that I'm more spiritual. You can't force that. It's got to be organic. It's got to be done. Name it, name it, name it, name it, name it, name it, name it. And it starts dissipating. I named and I cried and I talked and I was held. And I cried when I was held. And I screamed and then I felt better and then better and better. And pretty soon, the neurons that were there holding that are gone. They're rewired. It's the strangest thing and the most beautiful thing. So one of you asked about forgiveness. Forgiveness is a process. It's not an event. It's like, I wonder if that'll happen to me one day. I want to forgive everybody and it's all done. Some people do have large epiphany-like moments like that. That's great. But for the most part, it's like, wow, I don't hate them as much as I used to. I don't resent them and wish them harm, which is a step. You go from wishing them harm to, I don't even want to think about them, which still isn't forgiveness. You know, I'm done with that. I don't even want to think about that jerk. You know, it's still there. And then it fades and it fades. And pretty soon, it's just like they become inconsequential, really. That person that cheated on you, they left you, and it becomes, it's just not there. The energy's not there. Because you realized when my father, you know, when my most recent partner cheated or left me, it reminded me of friends that betrayed me in high school, which reminded me of dad who betrayed my mother. And then, by the way, just when you think you got all that sorted out, somebody introduces you to past life therapy. And then it's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. It took me 20, 30, 40, 80 years to process family. Now you opened up that ball. Now I have to forgive you for doing this to me and showing me past life stuff. And then when you're done with that, finally, you'll relax and you'll look at the past life stuff. And then you'll see, and past lives, there were some mean people and rude people and so on. And somebody will say, yeah, but it must have been you, your karma, and you checked the Akashic records. No, I never did that to anybody. I still don't know why it's happening. Because you're thinking literal. Just remember, it's themes. I have this theme. My sense of low self-worth has attracted certain things in my life. And now that's where the bullet point list is. All those things that you would have tried to hunt down and work on. First, we try to ignore them and pretend they don't bother us. It's in the past. I don't care. It's not going to work. They're going to come up. And then you get to the point of, fine, I got to go to therapy. And the therapist asks me things, and I got to go and detail all these things. Oh my God. Now I'm starting to come up with people that hurt me many years ago. And that's not helpful, but you cry and you talk and I feel kind of cathartic changes going on. And it eases and it eases and it eases. That's cool. But at some point, your therapist, if they're good, turns you towards, and who's got these patterns? Yes, I know they did this, but whose pattern is it to be abused, betrayed, etc.? Oh my God. It's not they did only, and I have these patterns. And if I would have healed these patterns, I'll have less of this going on because this is mirroring this. Is that making sense? Yeah. So I start to become more responsible. But again, you can't jump to that step. It's got to be organic. And it's beautiful when it is because you'll be surprised. You'll go, wait, how was I just having a light-hearted memory over something that was that painful? Even if it becomes humorous. It's okay to laugh at some of the things. And sometimes you'll go back and cry again and think, well, I thought I was over this. Shh. Just whatever's in front of you, work on it. Don't try to jump, I was done with it, because that the ego will use against you. Oh, you are? Nice. I'm going to wait till the anniversary of that whatever, I'm going to find just the right time to bring this up. And then out comes these, the Freudian slips and so forth, those things that held inside and they slip out. There's three primary ways we relate to people. It's codependence, which is the most rampant. That's the one almost everybody suffers from. There's far more codependence than there is alcoholism on the planet. Far more than drug addiction, far more than sex addiction, far more than food addiction is codependence. So codependence is one, independence is the other, interdependence is the third. 3 ways we relate to people and or the world. Codependence, obviously, it's the most rampant one, but codependence is rooted in I'm flawed or I'm missing something. Well, you're ultimately missing only one thing, God. I'm not saying that's a conscious thought. I'm just saying deep down that's what it is. On a soul level, it's God. But whatever happens on higher realms can manifest on lower realms. So if in my heart I feel a disconnection from God, from love, from spirit, from wholeness, from oneness, from abundance, it's going to manifest down in my world in those various ways. Some lack of relationship, lack of love, lack of affection, lack of money. My inner feeling, something's missing. Really, nothing's missing. So when you meet people, it's going to look like they're going to step in and try to help you fill that lack, which is really a relationship contract that is going to turn on you. Because if anybody shows up and says, I've got some answers, I've got affection to give you that you never had, I've got this to give you, I'll tell you you're beautiful. It's really nice. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. Because codependence is going to split into one of 2 things. Those who have taken away your good and those who seem to be able to supply it. And neither is true. You don't have a void. If the more you're in touch with God, you realize that. But you don't really have a void. But I have to say, on this planet, it'll feel like it. So you're not wrong for feeling that way. But you can at least correct the 2 routes you go when you're in touch with that void. When that void is rearing its ugly head. And it's going to be, I'm feeling, like let's say I feel low self-worth. When you look at it, where did it come from? My sister. She always got the kudos from my parents. And they may have, and that was inappropriate. I get it. But is that healing you? Just to say who it was. So it was your sister, but no, wait, now it's your parents that were, giving her the kudos. So which one is it? All of them. Okay. Your sister and your parents. But you left the house carrying that. If you heal it, you're done with them karmically. You're done with the pattern karmically, and you become a whole person. That's what you want. But codependence can be what others have taken from you, what others won't give you. That's still codependence. And then there's the false versions of what they can give you. Even alcohol is a codependent relationship. You think it can do something for you that you need, but you have no real need other than God. So get in touch with God, not a drink. But that's a tall order to just, bliss, let's go. Ready, go. I'm still not blissed out. You're right. So since we can't just snap our finger and go bliss now, boom, we have to work on it and start recognizing the codependencies. And one of them, again, is going to be what people did that were harmful, unhealed wounds. The other is going to be the stimulus and the things and the people that seem to fill the void. But that contract, God, I can't even, I'm just thinking about that person all the time that I just met. They see me like nobody else has ever, this is an accident waiting to happen. I go home, hi honey, and now you're home from work. Yeah, I worked double shift today. All right, give me some toast. Okay, and now you burn the toast because you're being passive aggressive because you don't like the way they're treating you, and then on and on and on. This is not healthy, but at work, there's a guy or a girl, who sees you. Oh, that's great. You seem like someone who's just not really seen. You seem like somebody who people just don't see how hard you work. Oh, that is me. How did you know? This is a weak human being who's starting to let somebody prey upon them and supply stimulus. Now, no offense, because I know it feels good for people to see you, but they're not. It's a pretend game. In their void, they feel more filled by having people go, you see me. yours is being seen. It's a codependent relationship. Codependence means two people screwed up. It's not the actual technical term, but two human beings that are messed up entering a contract of dysfunction. Now, Course in Miracles is going to tell you, and when it shows what's really happening, you're both going to just descend into deep, dark places once you realize what's happening. Well, how do I know when it starts to happen? How do I realize it? When one time they forgot to say how amazing you are. Now they're starting to become like your husband who doesn't tell you enough, your wife who doesn't tell you enough, who, by the way, is going to be a replete of your parents who didn't tell you it enough, which is a past life who didn't tell you. It's a void. I don't need you to tell me. I need to just know. You see? That's interdependence. I know. And that's weird for people because sometimes they know they're playing a game, trying to pull you and push you into needing them. And when you don't, they get upset because they're codependents, fishing for other people to be codependent with them. And when you show this centeredness, it's kind of awkward for them. Sorry, I better go fishing in a different fishing hole here, water hole, because I'm not catching anything here. Good. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I raised my kids with kind of that neutrality, a healthy neutrality. I would say to my oldest, you're my favorite oldest child. The youngest, you're my favorite youngest child. I mean, I know that this disturbed them on some level, but I don't care. Because do you want to know what I meant? Then ask. Was I not giving you enough favoritism? Let me know and I'll talk to you about that. You see? Step up. Own it. Share that with me. Let's talk about it. It's okay. And it's nice when people say, I know that part of me wants to be special. If your children, you say you have 3, and one of them says, you just never made me feel special enough. You don't say this to them, but I'm telling you, you can never make someone feel special enough. All you would be doing is giving them a pill for a moment. And they would go, wow, I feel better now that you made me feel special. But what's going to happen is it's an addiction when it happens twice. And they want to feel special again. Once it becomes twice or more, it's an addiction. The leading into an addiction. So now you're going to get hooked. Well, but it's been weeks now since you've done that. Oh, you do it again. Now they've hooked you. Now you're on a timetable. You better do that every 3 days or else. It's better just to cut, man, and say, look, I'm staying here and I absolutely love you. You want me to tell you how I love you? And so on. I will, because that's the truth of God and it's the truth in me about how I truly feel. I see your goodness. If you need me to keep telling you that I see your goodness, what are we going to do with that? So I might have to tactfully say, well, do you not see when I tell you? See what I'm doing there? Therapy without the child knowing the parent is doing therapy on him. Do you not see that? And when I told you, how did you feel when I said that? Well, it was okay. You can take them into deeper places. And this is your partners as well. I don't think you love me anymore. Well, why? Because you never tell me. And then there's that comeback. Well, you should just know. No. Tell me. It's okay for you to be honest. Tell me. But it's also okay for you to look at why you need them to tell you. I'm not telling you which was right or wrong or what ratio. I'm just saying we got to look at these things. I have people around me. I haven't heard I love you from them recently. I don't even think about it. I'm just saying it now and I'm noticing I'm triggered. No, I'm kidding. But, I am a public speaker, let's call it. And you know what? One of the things that usually happens when a public person does a public talk, they get public applause, right? I've never asked for, allowed. I just go into meditation so that we don't even have room for applause. Now, that doesn't mean when I've said something, somebody you like, they sometimes applaud. I'm good with it. But I've never thought to myself, I got to allow a gap there at the end of service to get, thank you. It never made sense to me, but I don't need it. And I go to other churches on tour in all these many years, And I'd go on tour and I'd say, I'm going to go straight into meditation. They were like a little bit like, wait, but we're supposed to have applause. Why? We just did a deep sharing. And now you're like, oh, yes, what am I, on Broadway? We just had a deep process. But if I did need applause, and some speakers, if they didn't get applause, do you understand? There would be an awkward feeling there. Wait, applause tells me I did a good job. See? But that's not how my mind works. I mean, if I didn't know what I'm about, what I love doing, and that it's valuable, why am I even doing it? So I don't need the applause, and I don't need a partner to say, I love you every day. But if they do, I think it's fantastic. But as an organic expression of how they feel, not as a gratuitous statement. So codependence, there's this void, and it can't be filled. It's a black hole, psychological black hole, and it cannot be filled. So we sit in that dark place, kind of in the area of depression, needing something. But the opposite, I gave up on people. I don't need anything from it. That's independence. That's still part of the polarity and duality of codependence. It's just the opposite. You've swung to, I don't need anybody, but you're angry. And when you say, I don't need anybody, what I hear is there's such an arrogance that you don't even need God. That's how hurt you can be. When I say, I don't need my children to like me, that's anger, that's hurt. But it can get so hurt that you would even say such a thing about God. You see? So codependence is just one extreme of the same problem. I don't need anyone. I feel good. I'm independent. I'm happy with the money I make and so on. And it sounds great, but you don't realize that's the same description of Ebenezer Scrooge. Bah humbug. I don't need anyone. Right? Oh, but that's not like, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. I feel full. Emptiness is where those other two places are coming from. A perceived emptiness we have. And the reason we perceive an emptiness is because we think we're not in heaven. We left heaven and we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. So now we're on the Wizard of Oz journey. And you're either going to need a heart or a mind, from these scarecrows and the bizarre things we go through in the Wizard of Oz story applied to our lives. It doesn't get cured. Using that story alone. How does it end? Well, did the scarecrow complete Dorothy? Did Toto complete Dorothy? Those were just things, and she made new friends and she learned lessons. But at the end of the day, when she went to the thing in her mind, Oz, that promised her answers, he didn't produce them, did he? He didn't produce them. I can't give you this and I can't give you. It's the Spirit of God comes and says, oh, you've had that all along. All you have to do is click your heels together and say, there's no place like Om, Om, right? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I now feel so valued. Gosh, that'll hold me over for another 30 years of no. You see, look at that story. The ego tells you, go look for it here, go look for it there. Even the poppy fields. And their meaning didn't bring bliss, didn't bring her home. Relationships in that story, I've always said, that's the monkeys. Monkeys are like your weird relationships people like to manifest. You've married way too many of those monkey creatures in that show, which those are kind of scary, aren't they? None of the things in this story brought her home other than what she already had. And it's a funny thing. Repeat this mantra. There's no place like home. That's like you promising, either trying to take away my goodness, now I have a void, or you cause, then you're the cause of me feeling this way, or you're the solution. Oh, you stroked my ego just right. It's very strange to be able to step back and go, wait, there's no place like home. In other words, if I feel a lack of love, I must be doing this with God and myself. When I feel, it's called interdependent. Inter, partly meaning inner. I feel an inner completeness. I don't need certain things from other people. And we're on planet Earth. You know, it happens. But there's such a thing as called healthy dependence. Healthy dependence. There wouldn't be attachments and anger reactions when you don't get it. But if you have an accountant who needs to do your taxes properly and legally, you do kind of depend on him to do it right. That's an agreement, that's a contract. Now, if you get enraged when they make a mistake and it happens again and again, you got to stop and say, this is a pattern, and change accountants or tax people or whatever they call them, okay? Change these things if you have to. Just like relationships. To be able to say, you know, I'm feeling an agitation with my partner. I need you to tell me you love me more often. You know what I would do? Just make a tape. I love you. I love you. I love you. Make it an hour-long tape, and then all you have to do is hit play every time the thing runs out. Does that sound romantic? Does that sound fulfilling? But that's what you're, in a sense, that's what you're asking for. I want to just know that there is an honesty and a love and a trust here. If I don't know that, I want to discuss it. Not I need it from you. It's a we here. Are we experiencing that? And if we're not, I'm going to discuss it. I want to discuss it. If discussing it doesn't change it, and there is a lack of truth or honesty or love or whatever it happens to be, then we shouldn't be hanging out together. If that's what you decide to do. I don't need to be in your life. You don't need to be in mine. But I love being in yours, and I love you being in mine. See, it's an organic, a loving expression. I say thank you to people all the time. You know, I love that. It's an organic thing. I appreciate you doing that. Somebody could be handing me paper clips one at a time and do it 10 times. It's a thing in me that goes, thank you. Why don't I just say it once times 10? Instead, I have this thing where I might repeat it 10 times. And I watch myself sometimes going, it's so funny. You know, that's my natural response. But for me, it's organic because I thank you. I do thank you. I appreciate you handing me that. So when we're in a state of love, this beautiful state of interdependence, it's kind of known as autonomy. But it's not independence, which is just another extreme reaction to wounds. Look at yourself and ask, are you hyper codependent or independent? One is the more sad, depressed, needy person. And I know those are hard words for us to hear. How dare him say I'm needy? You are or you're not. And if you're not that, before you think you've gone all the way home, stop and ask, am I acting sometimes too independent? Fine, I got it. I don't need any. I mean, there are people like that. They could be hurting. No, I'm good. I'm fine. And it's just so hard. So tough, you know, but that's where they ended up after enough hurt. So how do we deal with these things? Not by telling them, you know, I just heard a lecture and you remind me of the second group. You're one of those hardened, independent people. No, that's not how you help. Nor do you go and say, man, you're pathetic. You're kind of codependent. You and I need to know these things because we're walking into these kinds of teachings and learning about how things really work. But here, the tactfulness has to be there. I've noticed that we have this going on. I noticed that you can talk about I or we, but don't tell people you're codependent. You can say, I don't know exactly what we can do to work on our relationship more. Throw it out there. Bridge, it's called. You build it out here, you build the bridge and stay on your side and ask them to meet you halfway. Not literally, although that might happen, metaphorically. By putting a sentence out there, a question out there, and see if they step over halfway to meet you in the question. How are we feeling with each other? You see? How are you doing? You know, I noticed the other day I was watching myself, and I noticed that I might not tell you how much I appreciate about you. I'm talking about me. How does that feel? You know, are you aware of that? They might say, no, you say it all the time. Great. But see, I'm putting it out there. Because they might also say, and do I do that? Yeah, I think so, even though they don't. Yeah, I think so. But sometimes, you see what I'm doing? Softly delivering the situation. I think sometimes I feel like I remember it more happening in the early part of our relationship. And I don't see it as much. Is that because have I done something that's not feeling right for you? I'm talking about me, even though we all know I'm trying to get to the point, which is I don't feel it from you anymore. But you don't say it that way. You put it out there as your own experience and see if they meet you part way. Bridging helps heal the codependence. We're meeting each other in a healthy place rather than in a place of desolation. Blame, shame. It's okay to have needs because the part of you that thinks you have needs is the human part. And if you're in a body, you're going to have, but those are erroneous assumptions. I don't really have any needs. But if I have a child and it says, I need dinner, oh, what do you mean? You don't even have a body. You don't need to eat. And the kid's like, I don't get it. I'm like, one, Can I have food? No, you can't. And what's with this codependent stuff? You're relying on me. And besides that, you're also having a food addiction. I mean, that's not how you work with people. It's like so bizarre. You bridge. You feed them. And you can teach them things. Do you want to help me with dinner today? They're joining you. Bring people in and join. But there's a difference from a place of neediness. And you'll know the neediness when you get triggered when they don't perform. That's the bottom line. Codependent people are basically setting up contracts. I have, not consciously usually. Let's see. Deep down inside, I just feel a little low self-worth, but I'm not aware of it because I'm not self-aware. But as I sit there, deep in my subconscious, I do feel a little low self-worth. And then that starts to bring up, that makes me intolerant to people who say things to me that are not always supportive. It also makes me feel this, and it also makes that, and I don't like people that, and I have a little stuff going on here. Now, I'll try not to look at that, because if you tell me how wonderful I am, that never comes up. But you see what you're doing? You're helping me hide. Our codependent relationship, you're helping me hide my issues. And the day will probably come when you're going to say, I found this weird contract, and it said I'll do this, and that. I think we should burn it. Now wait a minute. We have an agreement here. You're going to help me hide my stuff. So what happens in relationships when we think we've entered the second stage, which is the honeymoon is over? The honeymoon, that's nice. People think the honeymoon is the great part of a relationship. It's actually when you're just smiling a lot because you want them to sign the contracts. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Oh. There's no relationships conference that's now going to listen to this and say, we should hire him as one of our speakers. Wow. Yeah, you're smiling. You're making a deal, so you're just doing the sales pitch. The honeymoon is over is when the engine starts clanging and it, it wasn't part of the repair agreement. And when this stuff comes out that you should have paid attention to. And we've all done this. It's kind of convenient to not read the fine print. You have a partner, and I want somebody kind of healthy. That's what I want healthiness as a partner. I'm tired of my parents. My dad was a drinker. My mom was this. I don't want anything like that. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I'm thinking, I don't want anything like that. So you meet somebody who's like, oh, I would never, and so on. And, at some point you start smelling alcohol or whatever else is going on. And you don't want to bring it up. You know why? Because you don't want to really know. You don't want to really know that they have this addiction, that addiction. You don't really want to know. Why? Because you don't want to judge them. No, because you don't want to own that you were dumb enough to get into this kind of situation, that you lied to yourself. You bargained away your knowing. You knew on some level. Human beings all know everything on some level. So how did you not know? I never imagined that they could drink. They came out of an alcoholic family. They said they would never. But that means you hired them to not do that. I need, not you, I need a non-drinker. But subconsciously, like, and I would never, because my parents did that. No way, not me. And in the subconscious, they're knocking them down because they're going to go there eventually. You know why? Because you need them to not. All of the needs become callings. Heaven help you if you need someone to be faithful. And I'm not saying they've always broken those agreements. Some people do maintain them. But the more you need your parents to like you more than your siblings, the more you're in trouble. The more you need someone to be faithful, the need is calling out. I'm telling you, it's this little beaker. It's behind the scenes. You think you need this and that, and it sends out a signal. And I think I'm just calling, healthy others into my life, and they come with a theme song, and you have your ears plugged, and with dun 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 dun, you're like, God, they're so cute, but you don't hear the music that's going with that. It's kind of strange. If you ever watch a movie and you get shocked that something just happened, it's funny to me when people, I didn't expect that scene. You didn't hear the music go from, you didn't hear, the music was telling you something was coming. And it's just like life. And the alcohol, the scent of alcohol on their breath, or the agitation, I remember when I was about 30, I went out dancing once. And oh my God, man. I just sat mostly listening to music. But I remember this couple. This guy meets this girl, which I know is an unusual thing in a bar. But this guy meets a girl, and he asks her to dance, and she says, okay. And they go walking through between tables. And so and I've seen him before, there, and I was always polite to the different people. But they go walking by, and I kind of said hi to them. He didn't see me. So she taps on his shoulders. Now, she's new to him. She taps on his shoulder to tell him that, that I was saying hi. He's walking her, leading her to the dance floor. Already something. He's leading her. That's going to tell you where that relationship's going. But he's leading her to the floor. She taps on his shoulder. I swear to God, he turns around and goes, he had a fist ready, and I just went, I hope she sees, not smart. And yet, God only knows, because some people would have said, yes, I do on the altar with that particular person. Pay attention to these things. Now, if you think, okay, I'm going to wait. I don't want any signs of tension. They can't drive too fast. They can't eat too fast. They can't eat meat, because you know what that means. And they can't be a fire sign, because you know what that means. And I need my psychics to tell me they're wonderful. Do whatever. If you go a hyper amount of investigating everybody, all it's going to do, if you have lessons, they're going to hide more. So you just stay in your center. You don't go, I'm needing someone to be perfect, because it's going to just hide more. It might be 10 years before it all blows up instead of 1. It might be 30 instead of 10. It might be 3 lifetimes. It's still coming back. So stay responsible. If I have lessons, it's okay if you bring some of them up. If I have lessons, what I'm asking for is you're going to bring them up as respectfully as possible. If you have no ability to be loving, responsible, and gentle and tactful yourself, I'm going to ask myself if this is a relationship that mirrors what I want or where I'm at. And it doesn't. So, okay, we're good. We'll end it. So there's these types of dependence and interdependence. You can't just go, I like this talk. I think I'm going to start being interdependent right now. No, it comes from combing out the knots, looking where I leak. I leak too much of this neediness, and I leak too much of the other, or I demonstrate too much independence. And then, people might say, you don't seem to express love a lot. You seem hardened, or you seem cold, or you seem shut down. Those are maybe signs, and I need to look at that if that's a common thing that I'm told. But at the end of the day, interdependence, you feel complete. It doesn't mean you don't have a bad day, but you do feel more complete. You feel a sense of You know, like when somebody says to me, and I say to you, it's Christmas. Michael, one of us is going to send you a gift for Christmas. Don't say, I don't need anything. And I'm not just saying it. I don't need anything. Does it mean I've never received anything that I actually went, oh, cool. But I don't need anything. I'm good. I use those words, and I don't mean I'm good. I mean, I'm good. I feel good. And it's not a gratuitous thing. I'm not saying it like a stance I'm taking. I need nothing. I'm telling you organically, don't send me anything because there's nothing I need. You can send donations, and that helps all of this work. But there's nothing I need. How about a shirt? No. No. How about, and then some of you try to sneak it under the radar. Michael, I heard you say that you like, and I won't name the food because then somebody will send it. I hear you like such and such. And I'll jokingly, in passing, I say, I really like, somebody in their good heart ships me something. And it is, then they took what I like and they send me some organic version of it. I bought you one of these from Whole Foods. As soon as God, you should have asked me. I don't want it with all these organic things in it. I want something I can actually taste. No. But, so I say, and I'm encouraging you, come to a place of, I'm enough. My relationship with God. Now, I'm not talking about being nuns. I'm just saying you start to feel complete. You can choose to date, but you don't have a need for a person in your house and in your life. You just share. I can share a date. I can share my bed. I can share a meal. I can share friendship. I can share a smile. The things of life. But you're sharing from your center. You're extending it to include people that you can share with. You have enough money. I don't care if it's $3. One of those dollars you can give to somebody who has $0. And then you'll have 5 because of your generosity. But if you go, I only have 3, I don't know what to tell you. We know where that goes. Lack will breed lack. But I'm not telling you to take your 3 that you barely have and give all 3. Not to here, me, or homeless people. Do what you feel you can what? Afford. That's the key. What you can afford to give. Who determines that? God? No. You. Not the other people. You don't rely on the other people telling you. That's what codependence is. People giving you assignments to meet. On the outside, oh, God, I feel such a nice energy between us. Oh, what subconsciously, there are these tentacles that pop out the back of their head. They go to the back of your head and they jam themselves into the back of your mind and they start downloading. What are your weaknesses so I can go after them? This is what people do, dysfunctional, codependent, unhealthy people do. It's unhealthy psychologically and spiritually. I don't know how to survive other than through your lifeblood. That's what codependence is about. I have an emptiness, and they might have tears in their eyes, and if only someone would love me, And you say, I do love you. Well, then you'll give me this. Why would I do that? The love is already complete. Well, then you'll marry me. No, but I'm not marrying anybody. Well, then you don't love me. And that's the games they'll play. Whether it's your children, your parents. You don't love your mother. You don't come and see me enough. Let me take video footage of our visits. And I'll send it to you, and you'll know why I don't visit more often. No, I don't think you should actually say that. But you know what? Such clarity. Just such clarity. I need to know. If you love me, I want to be intimate. Well, I'm not in that mood. Oh, you don't love me anymore. That's like adolescent attempts. Do you see through it? But when you get older, mature spiritually and psychologically, it's almost funny. You're seriously going to use that one? Well, yes, if you're not going to, give in to intimacy more often, I think we should just end it. When? Starting now or a minute ago? Or let's do that. I don't have time or interest in that. That's what autonomy and interdependence looks like. On the outside, it'll look to codependent people, they don't get what they want from you. They're not going to be happy with you. They're not going to like you because your light is reflecting something in them. Your light is shining upon their darkness. And I'm not saying they're evil, you're good. I'm saying psychologically speaking, as we get healthier, we just get more mature. If you have a child and you have a rule in your house and the child breaks the rule, and then you have to consequences, whatever happens, and they say, then I'm not going to like you anymore. If you're the type of parent, oh my God, oh, I can't believe you said that. Oh, here, have 2 of what you wanted. Somebody's messed up here. It's weakness. You're weak when you give in to people who are trying to push and pull you into their neediness. But it looks cold when I don't give in. It looks like my kids, they're going to think I don't love them. Hey, you know what? That's not the truth of God. Do you or don't you love them? Yes, done. Just practice that. Done. I do love you. Then you would give me that? No, that doesn't mean that. Prove it. Go in the dictionary, go in the encyclopedia, go anywhere. That love, look up the definition of love, and it says love means you'll do anything for anybody whenever they ask. And even dysfunctional academic books aren't going to say that. That's codependence. And we know the opposite. If this was described as temperatures, codependence seems hot, including, that kind of hot. Codependence is hot. Independence is what? Cold. I don't need anybody. Cold. Interdependence is what? Warm, comfortable, safe, loving. Exactly. So whether you use temperature or psychological examples or whatever works to make us understand, there was nothing wrong with you holding your center those times when you were. You might not have known what you were doing or the names of it. Whenever you gave in and bargained away for somebody to like you more, for somebody to love you more, you were feeding into a contract of dysfunction. You were. It can't go well. Because when I do that, I'm actually affirming I'm separate from God and so are you, and we're both going to just live in the survival of the fittest kind of world. There are people who literally, I need someone in my life who will take care of the accounting. But you can have, it's called usury, mutual usury. We can have a healthy dependence. How about if I do this and you do that? There's nothing wrong with that. You could be strong and say, whenever the car has a flat tire, I'm just going to lift it up and with the other hand, put the tire on because I'm that strong. There's nothing wrong with you being strong. And you might, that same person say, but I can't cook. I can't figure it out. And you find somebody who says, I love cooking. The mutual, there's nothing wrong with 2 interdependent people bringing their gifts and sharing them. But if it's out of, because you're incapable, it's feeding a negativity. You can cook. You just prefer not to, and I love it, so I'll do it. You see what I'm saying? There's a part of you that can actually lift the car with one hand and change the tire with the other. Just not the part you've realized yet. See the difference? It doesn't affirm, I'm lacking, you're lacking, let's match up. That whole thing about, at every kind of church and temple throughout the world for thousands of years. And the 2 dysfunctional people that are only half a being each will meet and become one. They don't say all those extra words. I threw that in. But still, when the 2 shall become one, that whole notion, gender-wise, it's always got to be a male or female. Can't be 2 of the same, we thought. But that's the lie. 2 half people joining together shall become one. And now there's people programmed with, if I don't have a partner when I die, I never met that. I never fulfilled that. You forgot. You're supposed to, when 2 each become one and come together, that's what's healthy. Now it says, and no man shall pull apart. I don't know about that. Seems to me that most dysfunctional codependent relationships don't last. So it must not have been talking about 2 half people with, they use each other in a negative way, codependent way, come together, and no man can pull apart what God has joined. God did not join them. God cannot look at you and go, wow, you are like so messed up. You're like half a person. You're half a brain, half intelligence. And I know somebody else that's half. I got just the person for you. God cannot take 2 dysfunctionals and put them together. That's our doing. The one relationship that no man can rent apart or split apart that God brings together are 2 people determined to know their interdependence. Two people shall become one means even if I don't have it down, with you I will do my work and become one. I will become one. You will become one. Together we're one. There's I, you, and we. And you have the perfect relationship. Healthy, functional, just beautiful. Interdependent each, but not independent. Interdependent, I'm here, you're here. And now we're here. Two whole people. So beautiful. Because one of you brought up the word surrender. I don't care what words you use. I don't care what dressing you put. This person's cute. I want to surrender to this relationship. They've got a lot of money. I'm going to surrender. That's false sense of surrender. It's codependence. Healthy surrender comes when I recognize there is love and respect here. There is safety. There is responsibility. And there is communication. When I have any container in my life called a relationship, a business relationship, whatever it is, a contract, even at work, when I have those pieces there, it's very natural. I will surrender to it. Everybody is looking for the thing they can surrender into. But we keep waiting for someone else to build the container. And when they don't, we hate them. And we resent them. Instead, I'm going to co-create this container, me and God. And since like can attract like, opposites can also attract. But since like can attract like, and my intention is my wholeness, my healthiness, it's kind of nice. I'll meet other healthier people. Misery loves company. If you see yourself as a separate, broken person, even though you're on the path and trying to be so beautifully spiritual and you read all the books about, I won't even name them, how to, get healthy partnerships, they don't work. If I don't do this work and become healthy, interdependent, the techniques out there, the things won't make someone happy. Manifest it with your mind. If your mind is dysfunctional, how can it manifest very well? So the journey to wholeness in relationship comes from your journey to wholeness with God, oneness with God, and with yourself. The relationships can then mirror that. But where you're not committed to that, they will show that to you, those others. And then you'll be tempted to resent them, but they showed you what was really going on all along. And those epiphanies can bring laughter and tears at the same time. It can. It's amazing. It's a weird thing to just, wow, who am I? Here I was going through these motions, and then the person I married, my parents like them. Why is that part of the criteria? Well, where did that come in? Well, that's just normal. It's culture. Where does it come in? The culture should tell you what to do. That's codependent on culture. Well, but my religion says, geez Louise, how did religion become your decision maker? Where are you? So we're marrying people that are it's all arranged marriages in that sense. No. Done with all this. Marrying and doing things gratuitously, doing things out of obligation, doing things out of codependence, and other people, needing to be happy with you. And all this time, I was so married and doing the right thing. And it took me 30 years to realize I was gay. Or I'm not gay, I'm straight, I'm something. I'm bi, I'm polyamorous, whatever. But know who you are and present that to what you're doing out here. Here's what I'm about. If you don't know yourself, you can't have an interdependent life. You can't have a healthy life. You are not mature spiritually nor psychologically if you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, how can you know what to attract into your life? Anything will do. I'll close with that thought as something I've shared before. Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland story. I've never seen or read Alice in Wonderland. I just know bits of it. And I know Alice in Wonderland, Cheshire Cat, she says, hey, Cheshire Cat, can you tell me which path to take? He says, that depends where you want to go. She said, I don't know. Then he said, then it doesn't matter which road you take. And that's what the universe says. What are you looking for? Anybody, anything, really. Here's a road that'll lead you to just anybody. It's called a bar, or now you don't have to go to a bar. Now it's loosehookups.com, go. And I hope there's not actually a website called that, but if there is, they're going to be like, he must have gone there many times. How else would he have known that there is such a place? Anyway, is that all making sense? Tying some things together? Stepping into your power, you asked. Isn't that what I just covered? It's all there, the things you're asking about. Forgiveness, all these things. They're all here, man. They're all right here with us. And at the end of the day, when you practice the interdependence here, you're actually experiencing a microcosm of the ultimate interdependence, which is God. So practice it here. Codependence, you're in the ego world. And that's the same with independence. But interdependence means you've gone from the lower three chakras to your heart. This is my interdependent self. My heart guides me, my heart that has the light of God shining upon it, and then I know what to do in my outer world. I know what feels right for me. One day, this will now ascend into this. Interdependence is a great sign, but interdependence dissolves into oneness with God. Please take a few centering breaths. Take your body for a moment and just tense everything up as tight as you can on an inhale. Exhale and let all of it go. Do that at least one more time. Nice. Now, relax. Only using enough muscles to let you sit up. Just minimal amount of, let's call it, tensing. Just like there's healthy dependence, there's a healthy tensing to stand up, to sit down. You're fine, relax. Healthy dependence is recognizing our dependence on God, but then it's not called dependence. Healthy dependence ultimately is called trust. So my healthy dependence on God, knowing that God will always guide me towards a better life, that's a healthy thing you can depend on. That's healthy dependence. Shh. That's healthy dependence. But it has another word, trust. I trust God. I trust you, my Lord. I trust you, Father, Mother, God. And where I don't, teach me to do so. Imagine for a moment there's different dimensions. And let's say the upper dimension, way up in the heavens, is heaven, is God. Just imagine that there's a dimension way up there. It's good for now. Way up there. That a dimension that is only love, joy, peace, the light of God. Just imagine there's a dimension out there that has that. Only God's presence, only love, only joy. Then imagine below that dimension, we're giving it kind of a linear visual, but below that dimension, imagine that there's one where we can begin to believe differently than what we just had a moment ago. A dimension where we can have beliefs and doubts about who we really are. There's this love oneness dimension. We're not quite there. We drop down into a dimension where we can have beliefs that become confusing to us. Erroneous beliefs that maybe we're flawed, but I don't know for sure. Still a beautiful place because it's only little doubts. Imagine there's another dimension lower than that, where you can think thoughts that are not love, peace, joy. Don't worry, because they're still not manifested. They're only thoughts. But what if there's that dimension now? You know, thoughts that are just a little less than perfect love, peace, oneness. Then another dimension below that, where we can feel the effects of the other dimension where we had thoughts, and the other dimension where we had beliefs. So the perfect dimension of God, heaven, love, joy, perfect. But below that, a dimension where we have little tiny beliefs, misbeliefs about who we are. Another dimension below that where we start to think things, think unloving thoughts. But it's okay because we're only thinking them. They're staying in our mind. The next dimension down, we're starting to feel the effects of those beliefs and thoughts. Imagine that. Feel into that for a second. I'm starting to feel the effects. And then, because this is how the universe actually works, then there's the next dimension where we actually experience those emotions, thoughts, beliefs, other than that perfect light of God. Sit with that for a minute now and imagine that is your world, your life, yourself. Our external world is simply the dimension where we experience the things that were higher dimensional. All of our misthoughts, misbeliefs, misemotions, and so on, they all just trickled down and became our manifested life. Take a moment to look at that. In the ultimate dimension of God, there are no negatives, but there's no external positive. There's no lottery winning. There's no new car in heaven. It's a state of mind. It's a state of perfect bliss and love. By the time we get down here, we have seemingly positive and seemingly negative experiences, but they're just images that are manifesting from our struggles and inner conflicts. Look at your life and your world for a moment. I don't care if it's politics, news, fires, hurricanes, whatever, this world, even if it's seemingly positives. Just be aware of this world and know it's nothing but the effect of everything we're thinking, believing on higher dimensions. And we're in charge of that. We can choose what to believe and think and feel. Forgiveness is the only thing that can take us from what we're experiencing on this dimension and get back to experiencing higher dimensions, but even ultimately the dimension of God. Forgiveness delivers us back to that dimension. It's another way of learning and seeing what forgiveness is about and how the universe works. I don't have to hate the universe. I don't have to resent it. I don't have to fear it. It's the result of my beliefs. Heal my inner self, my outer world will start to change. And I know some of you are saying, but I have been working, and you have been changing. Some of it takes more time than others because of stuck beliefs, such as limiting beliefs, contracts that we've signed subconsciously, all these things. You just keep doing your work. It can't not work. Do practice forgiveness regularly. Don't pretend to forgive. Don't shame yourself into forgiving. It's organic, but at least set that as your goal, your course. I'm not there yet, you can say sometimes, but that is my intention. God, guide me into deeper levels of forgiveness for this situation. You can say, I still sometimes am hurt, sometimes angry. Help me with this. If 12-step programs can say, God, I need your help with recovery, why wouldn't I need God's help in recovering from resentments? 12 steps from resentments. Contracts, patterns. And I give thanks that this is not only the course I set, this is where I'm arriving now. This is absolutely what I'm about in mind, body, and soul. Healthy, interdependent being. And this is another way of describing awakening the inner Christ. And I can call upon Christ, Jesus himself, to help me with this process. I'm pretty sure he knows how to do it. So he's a good guy. Call upon the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, to help you with the process. Don't be one of those independent people that thinks they know how to get home. Relax and look at why the hyper independence. Hurt. I don't need Jesus. I don't need God. I don't need love. I don't need forgiveness. I'm just doing it because I'm growing on myself. No, you're already affirming you're not there. We understand you're hurt. And we can let that go. Breathe in a couple of times, really integrating what we just covered, whether in the talk or in the meditation. Breathe this in. Try to believe that an hour and 15-minute sacred service can do the same things a 10-day retreat somewhere could do for you. Believe that, and then it'll happen. Total transformation in an hour plus that you might have thought you need to get over a 10-year process or a 10-day seminar. And those are valid too. But know that all that can be done in an hour plus as well. Giving thanks. And so it is. Nice. Thank you, guys. Take a moment to reintegrate back into the room. As you're slowly reintegrating, while it's fresh in your mind, is there any, don't get into your thinking head, but are there any insights you learned today that can be the most helpful to you, or in the meditation, or in the talk? What, not only to you, but what could make a difference in your life or the people around you? Yes?
The independence piece, the polarity.
The polarity, independence, and yeah.
Separate from God. That was like
That
powerful.
hyper-independence is a statement of even saying, I don't even need God. That's a lot of hurt, don't you think? I mean, can you feel that? The hurt that it takes to, I don't need anyone. And not most people, most people wouldn't be able to own that also means I don't even need God. That's deep down what you're partly saying. Did you have your hand up? Yes?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, the both of you.
I thought, she's just my friend, she's not my wife. I thought independence was the thing to do. I never thought of it as being independent from God. Thank you.
Interesting.
Thank you.
So independence was a key for him, and they're sitting next to each other, and they both got that same, insight. Yep.
What I got out of this is that you start out, I see as you start out as codependent, you get all the hurts and the pain, and you jump right over to the anger,
Yeah.
which is the
Independence. Yeah.
and then somehow you've got to work out the forgiveness to get back to the interdependence.
Right.
And I've read, stories about people that have been hurt, and the first thing they say that, well, I got over it, and I forgave her, and now I'm good, and I can move on.
Right.
And I wonder, well, how did they do that so fast, so quickly?
Yeah. Nice.
I certainly couldn't,
Yeah.
but it takes time.
It does. That's there's several things you're saying, but one of them is it's a process. Please remember, be forgiving and gentle on yourself if you don't get it done in one split second. It is a process. I would almost be happier knowing that it took me days, weeks, months, years to get it done than to just think I'm just done instantly and I'm holy now. That there's too much temptation that for trying to bypass the process. You see what I'm saying? If I had to choose between the two, I would rather know that I'm going through the process organically and honestly than just to just all of a sudden say, I'm over it. I'm done with them. I've forgiven them. You might, but the universe is going to go, well, we don't know that until we what? Test you on it. You don't graduate till you go through the test. Just saying it doesn't mean it. And I don't want to say to the universe, oh yeah, please bring on some tests. I'd rather be part of that process than just to say, I'm done. And then I know now it's going to come, I'm going to face it. It's going to hit me hard. There was another thing you had said as well.
And also, to forgive, you also have to get closer to God. And sometimes that's easier said than done.
Forgiveness is like the 12 steps. It's easier to do forgiveness with God as part of your program than without. But it's okay if you don't know God, trust God, like the word God. Even that's okay. Just set the course of forgiveness. Call on whatever. If the highest you can go to are your angels and not God, go to your angels. They don't mind helping. And if you don't believe in angels and all you've got is your deceased mother, call on her. Anything you can believe in to be an ally. And if nothing disembodied, then something here, a counselor, a sponsor. Get help, though. It helps to get help, to help you and support you in the process. But thank you. You know, he had shared, there's so many layers in what he said, I can't repeat them all, but very good. And one of them was, like the symbol of the Trinity, it's the, like the Celtic version, the Celtic version where it's a triangle, but the Celtic kind of knotwork almost. That symbol, it's kind of like that. Down here, you don't have 1, 2, 3 linearly. Technically, independence and codependence are both down here. They're part of the pain world. The one that's interdependence, you could say, is related to this one up here. It's a different viewpoint. Anybody else? Yes.
The prophetess Lala said, when I went out searching for God, I found only myself. And when I went looking for myself, I only found God. And so I hear what you're speaking to is
Yeah.
the prophet.
Right.
Going is going to be what we learn and gather.
Yes. And when I searched for God, I found myself. When I searched for myself, I found God. Beautifully said, perfectly said. And that fits, in a sense, everything, because what I said was, we start off with all the blaming, shaming. Remember, I've shared this many times from the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus didn't just say, seek and ye shall find. He said, seek and ye shall find, and when you find, you will become disturbed. Because when you seek, even God, you will find yourself. When you find yourself, you will become disturbed. When you look at, oh my God, all this was there? Yes. And it's okay, because I'll start off forgiving you for the things you've done to me. Then I'll shift into forgiving myself more. Then I realize the third step, nothing to forgive. In God, it didn't happen. That's why in that meditation, the dimension of God, it's perfection, it's wholeness, it's love. Did you get what I was saying there? Even though things are happening in this world, they're reflecting not God, they're reflecting my internal doubts and thoughts and fears. So it manifests. Now we're in a world going, we'll never get home with all this. We don't understand. A part of us is still here, dreaming all of this into activity. Once we heal ourselves, when we seek ourselves, we will find God. So many people have that near-death experience and say, I just never imagined. All this grasping that Buddha warned me about, all this neediness, and all this time I had when I needed here. There's no place like home. But then act like it. Live like it. We're going to take up our collection. Please be as generous as you can be, as we always ask. Your donations you can make online. There's a button to click. And then there's also, here, the baskets. The bags are for your standard donations. The baskets are for any extra donations you might be able to offer. And we use what's in the baskets for any special needs or people, that we can help out, okay? So thank you. Now, you can do the prayer. It's on your bulletins. It's like a paper like this, or it's posted online, the prosperity blessing. Hold your love offering to your heart. Really, really think it, feel it, believe it. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. A couple of quick announcements and we'll do our closing prayer. First, the chaplains have a healing blessing that they do after every service. You're welcome to stay and add prayer to it or receive healing. You'll just submit the slip that they'll be passing around when service is over. I'm available for private sessions, for phone sessions. Almost never do I do in-person sessions anymore, but I do phone sessions. And If you schedule, just remember, read the paperwork that describes them and, follow the rules. You have to answer the phone, of course, but there's it'll tell you, I might be a little early or late. There's a block there, so just try to make sure you're available. But, just trust in the process. We'll go where we need to go. But I'm quite capable of being totally present with you, in what we're doing. But sometimes I'm driving to the center while I'm doing a session. Don't assume that because I'm in the car, I don't know what I'm doing. But just know this. If you're somebody that's like, no, I don't believe in that, then don't have one with me. You need to trust anybody you're seeing. We have a psychic fair today. Do a prayer and trust in what they share. Doesn't mean base your livelihood on it. Just hear the feedback and be open. And just, the more you can surrender, those readers should be praying before they work with you. But you also should be doing so. Trust in what you hear. Not live by every word of it, but just trust in what you hear. Put yourself in that higher consciousness. And this afternoon from 1 to 4, that's the psychic fair. We interview them. We have just some of the greatest in the region, readers in the region. It's fantastic people. If I were making a big decision in my life, honestly, I would probably go to 2 or 3 for that matter to look at the common theme of what I'm hearing, because I would trust that. Why go to anybody if you don't trust them? Why go to a counselor or a sponsor if you have doubts about their abilities? It doesn't make any sense. And that's trying to become too independent again. Social media, the folks on social media, thank you for being with us. We're live on Facebook every Sunday, but also it goes live on YouTube as well. But YouTube also stores all of these talks in our playlist, I think they call it. But you can go and watch. I have educational mini workshops on there, lectures on there, Sunday services on there. This Wednesday will be our spiritual healing, counseling, mentoring circle. It's a circle we have here, and we work with people, find out what they're struggling with inside. And it's kind of like a support group, but it's also teaching people how to give and receive healing with other people. You don't have to be a healer, but it's still great, whatever level you approach it. And remember that the Enchanted Healing Room was open. We have a healing room a block away where you can go and get all kinds of body work or healing work, energy work, cranial sacral work. We have a half dozen really gifted healers. There's brochures in the foyer about it, and they're also available online, so you can go online and read about it, especially the readers. Remember, they're here, but you can call them and have phone sessions with any of these folks anytime during the month or year for that matter. Okay, you don't always have to attend in person our event. And I think that's it for the announcements I was told to give. Please stand for our closing prayer. In a word, how did you do today? Great? Nice, nice. Did you gain something? Can you apply it in your life?
Yes.
I swear it'll make a difference. Don't you think? I know it. I know it. Just like activate, man. Have that light turn on and then send out warning to all the people in your life. No, I'm kidding. But you kind of do. You kind of softly, things are going to be changing. One of the great things with my oldest daughter, she said once, I said, from here on, we're going to make some changes because some things were just too loose. I took care of them for a long time and so on. And I wanted them to develop a certain interdependence. So that's a healthy thing, certain age with kids. So I said that to them. I'm going to have you guys do, certain things differently. I want you to put out, a little more energy and put some energy into this, do a little more work for that. And she came back with, you can't change things now. You've spoiled us for too long. So she even tried to guilt me into keeping she was intelligent enough to actually try to use that contract. And it was brilliant. I said, good one, man, but no. Feeling gratitude, feeling awake, because that's what it is. From independence and codependence, you're sleeping, you're unconscious, you're irresponsible. When you start developing interdependence, you're waking up. You're becoming conscious, you're becoming healthy. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. We'll